This is Land of Havilah, Psalm 30. It's 12 verses. Verse 1. A psalm, a song for the dedication of the temple by David. I will extol you, Yahweh, for you have raised me up and have not made my foes to rejoice over me. Yahweh, my God, I cried to you, and you have healed me. Yahweh, you have brought up my soul from Sheol. You have kept me alive, that I should not go down to the pit. Sing praise to Yahweh, you saints of his. Give thanks to his holy name. For his anger is but for a moment, his favor is for a lifetime. Weeping may stay for the night, but joy comes in the morning. As for me, I said in my prosperity, I shall never be moved. You, Yahweh, when you favored me, made my mountain stand strong, but when you hid your face, I was troubled. I cried to you, Yahweh, I made supplication to the Lord. What profit is there in my destruction if I go down to the pit? Shall the dust praise you? Shall it declare your truth? Hear, Yahweh, and have mercy on me. Yahweh, be my helper. You have turned my mourning into dancing for me. You have removed my sackcloth and clothed me with gladness, to the end that my heart may sing praise to you and not be silent. Yahweh, my God, I will give thanks to you forever. Comment. In verse 1, it's a psalm by David intended to be put to music for the dedication of the temple. But temple could also be translated house, so maybe it was for the dedication of David's own house that he built, 2 Samuel 5:11. But probably not, because at the time David built his own house, he had not yet organized the Levite musicians. If he wrote it for the dedication of the temple, it was when the temple was only in the planning stages, because the temple wasn't built until his son Solomon built it after David passed, 2 Samuel 7:12 and 13, and 1 Chronicles 17:4. Very possibly the Levite musicians did file this psalm away and perform it at the time of temple dedication after David passed away, 2 Chronicles 5:13 and 2 Chronicles 7:6. But after verse 1, there's nothing at all about a physical house or temple. It's all about God building David up when he was broken. Yahweh raised him up in verse 1, healed him in verse 2, brought him up from Sheol and from the pit and kept him alive in verse 3, turned his mourning into dancing in verse 11, removed his sackcloth and clothed him with gladness in verse 11. So God's the God of the comeback. In verse 5, speaking of Yahweh, quote, his anger is but for a moment, his favor is for a lifetime, end quote. So we can expect Yahweh's discipline to be short-lived compared to the long period of good times coming. He does discipline us, and it's not pleasant, but it's for our profit. Hebrews 12:6-11. His anger is but for a moment, his favor for a lifetime. And in verse 5, weeping may stay for the night, but joy comes in the morning. So let's not lose heart. The old saying applies, this too shall pass. Joy comes in the morning. The whole cycle is in verses 6-12. At first, David was on top of the world, assuming he would never be moved. Then trouble came from nowhere. It was as though Yahweh hid his face. It was one of those "Where are you, God?" moments, which prompted David in verses 8-10 to pray desperately. Then in verse 11, the resolution that Yahweh turned David's mourning to dancing, removed his sackcloth, clothed him with gladness, to the end that David's heart sang praise to God. He was thankful forever. Psalm 31 is next.